What is going on, guys? My name is Hussein, and in this video I want to answer a question from one of you guys that asked me, how do I break in as a new backend engineer? So I am a front engineer or I'm a network engineer and I want to be as a backend engineer and I want to get recruited. What should I give the recruiters tips? Like any tips I should write in my CV? What language I should learn to become a backend engineer? And whether these questions sometimes come from front-end engineers who are used to building user experiences, UI, or some of these questions come from network engineers who are very well versed into the networking stack. They know the TCP and they want to start building applications. So they are actually coming from two sources. So, and how about we actually start reading the question, guys? So, question says, "Hey Hussein, I hope you're doing well. Are there any tips or tricks I can do to make it easier to break into the industry as a back-end developer? I mean, what are recruiters looking for in a CV? I would be glad if you can make a video about that." So, guys, my answer would not be a typical one, and I think it's also gonna be unpopular. So guys, my opinion might not be very popular with this regard, but I don't personally believe you should learn languages or back-end technologies or any technologies for that matter that recruiters are looking for just to get hired. And it might work for you for the short run, but you will get burned out real quick because, as cheesy as it might sound, you're not passionate about the things that others search for. And the industry is a mess, to be honest, because there are a lot of hype of everything, and these hypes die very quickly, right? The hype might just take a year and then you start learning a technology for a year and then this technology is dead after a year because it was hyped up for a whole year or 2 years, right? And then these technologies just die afterwards and then you just learned it for a waste. Nothing is a waste, obviously. And when you learn anything, it's just always useful. But here's my advice. If you want to learn a backend, if you want to become a backend engineer and you want to attract recruiters, flip it. Don't do what recruiters tell you to do. Don't just put, I have Python experience, or I have JavaScript experience, or I have PHP experience. Pick a language, pick a stack that you're very comfortable with. And here's where the tasting come into picture. You have to taste different things. Taste different proxies. Like, I mean, I think proxies in general, and when I say proxy, I mean reverse proxies, I mean caching layers, I mean load balancers, both types, right? Layer 4, layer 7, and if you, as an intro engineer, go even the layer 3 load balancer, because that will be easier for you to pick up, I think, from the lower stack up. But pick up these, taste these different technologies and see what you like, and just go heads down in learning these stacks. And this way, if you write this, it will be truly passionable, right? Because that will be truly your skill. And recruiters, though these recruiters, what you're hitting is that you're hitting the long tail in this case. Like, I don't know if you guys familiar with this book called The Long Tail. I'm gonna put in the screen here, but essentially it's just like, yeah, there's always in anything, any technology, any desirable product, there are a product, or there is like a technology, or there's a topic that is huge on demand, right? And could be in demand, real demand, or could be just hype, right? And that is just going to gradually go down, right? And this is where the long tail goes. Like, if you become an expert in back-end configuration of Nginx, so you can do A/B testing and make sure Nginx is up all the time, pick that and run with it, right? Become that when people say Nginx, they say your name. When people say HA proxy, they say your name. Or or even like developing scripts. Yeah, Python, JavaScript, languages, any language will really work as a backend engineer. Don't sweat it out. Really doesn't matter, to be honest. Languages don't matter in the backend engineer. Because what? If a recruiter wants you for Python and you know JavaScript, that is not enough for them to reject you. Because Python can be learned in a week, in 2 weeks. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for how depth is your knowledge, right? Language is just how you talk to the computer. It's just, you can pick any language and you can run with it. It doesn't really have to be the language that they choose, right? Just that's really the last thing that recruiters look for. It's like, oh, you're good in Python. Oh yeah, I know JavaScript, but I can't write Python. I mean, yeah, C#, any language, right? It's just the understanding of the fundamentals. And I really encourage you to look at my back-end engineering video right here. Check it out, where I can break down all these back-end fundamentals, right? Proxies, load balancers, web servers, and I forgot security, right? You can just pick one stack of these and just go dive deep into it. And that's not enough, because what are you going to find out is like you will excel on one of these, right? And maybe there are more, obviously. Just don't limit yourself to these. And then once you find your passion and you're just like, I love this stuff. If you like Python, use Python all the time. There's nothing wrong with that, because you're going to innovate more when you write Python, because the product matters. The language doesn't matter. Right? There are exceptions where some languages are fitted for certain use cases, but if you're entry, it does not matter. Believe me, guys. So yeah, don't put in your CV if the recruiters they're recruiting for Python developer. You can definitely just any language will. Yeah, if you write CV in your CV that you know Python and the recruiter is looking for Java, don't worry about it. That's okay. Because what you need to do is really show that you understand the fundamentals. And I know that's not a short solution. That's not a short time solution. And that's not a shortcut to get you a job. But you need to work really hard on this one. If you want to break into the industry, just taste. Just learn, just build, right? Build stuff, build software, configure software, right? Especially on the back end, just taste HTTP2, taste HTTP3. HTTP3 is still experimental, but that does not mean that HTTP1 is dead or HTTP2 is dead. Don't put flashy stuff on your CV. Nobody is looking for those flashy stuff. They can call you out. Recruiters can call you out, right? If you write, I'm an expert in HTTP3, you better know what you're doing, son, because people will call you out. They will find out real quick if you're an expert or not. So never write expert, in my opinion. I don't like to write this word. Even if I have 15, 16 years of experience in certain, I never write expert, because I know myself that I can always grow. Expert is just something that people like to use. Like, yeah, that's another topic. So yeah, it's not gonna be easy, right? If you're gonna get hired, if you want to get hired and pick the first job you find in backend engineer. Don't say no, because that job will rarely be your last job, right? Because don't use that job as just an excuse just hey, I'm gonna spend my rest of my life here. No, you pick this job so you can basically eat, right? And then just, yeah, well, if the job you're working on currently as a backend engineer doesn't fuel you passionately, on the side after 5, start working on the things that you like. And if you're a network engineer, you will gravitate towards things that is at the lowest level. So layer 4 TCP stuff, we still need people there. We have not cracked backend engineering yet. There are so many problems that we need to solve. Timeouts, for example. Nginx, or other proxies, HA proxies, we're still figuring out what are the best timeouts that we can put on every single level, right? Between the proxy and the backend server, between the front end, the client, and the proxy. How many timeouts? How long and short they should be? We don't know these answers, right? And if you can just dive in and play with these things, automatically you will be good. And when it comes time for an interview, you'll say, yeah, well, immediately there will be an aura over you and just like, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. And the things that you don't know, it's like, yeah, I haven't investigated that area, but I would love to know how I can improve in that area, or how can we improve that and make it better? Because most recruiters will ask you, okay, how can you basically make how can you help our company, right? Just, okay, we're going to build a web framework application. I'm going to help you scale, right? And yes, scaling will be, really depends on the application, right? We don't have to use Kubernetes or anything. Don't throw words like that just because they are popular. Understand the fundamentals behind containers, understand the fundamentals behind Kubernetes and why are we using that stuff. Talk about fundamentals as much as possible, right? Because recruiters will immediately call you out if you start throwing words, right? As like, yeah, new fancy words. They know everything. The HR and recruiters know if somebody knows something or just scratching the surface, because with a few questions they can scratch and they know that if you don't know. So that goes what I was saying. Don't lie on your CV, obviously. If you don't know something, and just put it out there. Yeah, if you really know it, just hey, I know this, and don't be afraid that list few things in your CV. That's actually a good thing. I'm not gonna sit if I'm interviewing someone, I'm not gonna sit and reading through 4 pages. I'm gonna flip through the projects. That's actually interesting to me, and then I like to read through the projects pages a lot, right? I rarely care if someone knows Python or JavaScript or Java. I really interested when I see like, okay, there's this problem, there's this project, and we run into this problem, and here's how we solve it, and here's how we fixed it, right? We're not sure that's the best approach, but I think that that's the approach that we came up with, right? And then the interviewer will ask you questions. Obviously, they will start pulling strings on that particular area, and we'll start pulling more and more information as much as possible from you. So focus on projects. Obviously, that doesn't make sense if you're new, you don't have projects, right? But that's where side project comes in. Build a website. You don't have to make it public. Make it for you internally. Host it locally. Expose your router publicly, and just, yeah, you don't have to pay for cloud services or to host a website, to work on a website, and people will believe you. If you build a website and you can talk about it, and you can carefully talk about it, people will believe you. They don't need to see live projects, right? I know live projects are a great idea if you can share a link and I can look at this, but when I see a link and I click on a project and I click buttons, I have no idea what the heck is this, right? I don't know how you built it. Have you used existing technologies, or have you stitched it yourself, right? Go onto the board and just draw the architecture for me. What have you done? The backend engineering with design. I know, guys, I'm all over the place, but I didn't really plan this video. I just want to talk conversationally with you guys. So this is just a conversation, really more like advice, right? Because what do I know as an advice? I just tell you from my personal experience, from people I interviewed, and when I was an interviewee, and seeing other people getting interviewed as a backend engineer. That's what we noticed, right? And just common sense. I noticed myself when I tried writing my CV, I was trying so hard, because I was like putting everything that I ever done in the CV. And just like, Why am I doing that? I'm just trying to impress whomever I'm sending the CV to. That was like, I don't know, 10 years ago, 7 years ago. Yeah, but I no longer do that because really, you should be confident of what you know and never think that what you know is little, or just like, oh, if I'm gonna list only, oh, I know Nginx and Python, people will think I'm not good enough. What? No, not at all. Some people like to list like 700 programming languages thinking that this will give them an edge. Nah, doesn't give you an edge. Doesn't give you any added value. It's like, okay, I need you for a JavaScript position, but you know, C#, big deal. What I'm gonna use you for that, right? But if you have been proven to work with, easy to work with, and you're down to earth, that's a trait I want you for. You're a badass, right? Or if you have configured these applications and you run into problems and you wait 2 solutions, that's the best thing. I was impressed with one CV. It's like someone actually listed 3 solutions and they picked one. That was like, I was impressed with this CV. I was like, wow. It's like they're reading my mind. It's like they're expecting my questions. And as a solution, it's like, oh, I picked one. I'm not impressed. I wasn't impressed by the solution itself. I was impressed by the variation. There's a word in Arabic, I don't know, it's English, fusayfisa, but I don't know how it's in English. So it's like variety, right? There's a variety of things, and that, to come up with a variety of solutions, first, it's very humbling, because most engineers, and let's be honest, are not really empathetic, right? Because if we come up with a solution, we want to own it. It's like, oh, I'm gonna pick that solution because it's the best. That shows your personality, kind of. You can scratch the surface of your personality. It's like, oh yeah, you good, son, because you are humble enough to accept other people's solution, to actually list those solutions. Because yeah, I used, for example, we were between RabbitMQ and Kafka, and I don't know, ZeroMQ, and we end up picking ZeroMQ because our solution is not really a pub sub, so we didn't really need exchanges, and we didn't really need a complex system like Kafka. So we made a decision to choose simplicity over sophistication, right? That wasn't the example they gave, but I'm just giving you some examples, right? So if you're new, then you're gonna have a little bit of a hard time, and that's okay. Just list whatever truthful, right? Keep learning. So juice up that CV, the circular vita, right? Juice it up with project, juice it up with ideas, with tech that you're interested in. And the more you're interested in something, man, you will automatically be jumped and dive deep into it, right? And yeah, that's what recruiters are looking for. They're looking for passionate people. So it's just, I don't care if you know blockchain, right? Jesus, like these 2 years, like everybody's into blockchain for some reason, right? It's just, yeah, if you don't have if you're passionate about blockchain, kudos, right? But if you're not, and you're adding it, and if I ask you a few questions about blockchain and you just stay silent, or it will show immediately. So that's a no-no. Don't lie in your CV, obviously. That's a known. But only put stuff, no matter how small. I'm not going to use the word small. No matter how few they are, add them. Who cares? If you're an expert in HR, you're telling me if someone hired Daniel, whomever write curl, that guy only know C++. I don't even know the language that curls in. That he only knows that, okay? And he only maintains one project. You're telling me if a recruiter saw that CV and he's just like, okay, I have 30 years maintaining this project and I only code in one language. Again, I don't know if Daniel code in one language or not, but jeez, this guy built a project that is being used across the whole globe, right? In every single device almost, right? Curl, CURL. right? So he's passionate about this and he runs, I don't know how many weekly meetings and about this, and he pulls people to contribute on his project. You're telling me that he just knows like one language and so he's not good enough? No, doesn't matter, right? He's really well. He understands every single protocol because he baked them into the language, right? So I'm not telling you to be like him, but just an example of just having one language doesn't mean anything, right? Just doesn't mean you're not good enough or you have to learn multiple languages. No. Taste multiple languages, definitely. But if you like one, oh my God. And I talk about that a little bit in which language to pick and all that stuff, right? Just pick that language. And if you just feel connected with that language, write in that language only, right? I used to feel this with Visual Basic 6. I know, guys, make fun all you want. Screw you guys. I like Visual Basic. I know it's dead now, but I used to love it because I don't know how I feel with right. Okay. The second language I love when I write in that language is pure C, but I suck at writing C code. But I just enjoy writing in C. I don't know why. Just the idea of me controlling everything feels really good. I control the memory, I allocate everything, right? So it feels good, but I suck at this language. So I'm currently coding mainly in JavaScript, and I don't like C#, right? Although I use it almost every day in my current job. I code in C#, but I like JavaScript, and so that's my first language to pick on everything. So if you see my tutorials, almost all of them JavaScript, and then most of them are Python. I taste everything and see what I like. Some people love Python. So yeah, pick the language you're more comfortable with and run with it, guys. So absolutely, that will be fine. So these are some of the tips that I think recruiters look for when they look for a backend engineer. But yeah, it really depends, guys. Just really depends on the job that you're getting. But don't what's the word? Don't transform your CV so that it looks appealing for a given recruiter, right? I know a lot of people tell you to do that, but that's an unpopular opinion that from me. Let them reach you. Let people reach you. And that's what I did. I used to work in Bahrain and I was basically invisible, right? And I was doing this kind of forming my CVs to send it to people, and I flipped the equation. I just said, you know what? This is what I'm good at. I'm good at GIS. I'm good at utilities. I'm gonna focus my stuff to. I'm gonna start my YouTube channel and start talking about utilities and start talking about utilities as electric utilities, water utilities, and talk about that stuff, GIS, ArcMap, and these solutions, and start writing a book. I just focused on that for just a year? Not really, actually 3 years. I focused, just stayed not a focus, and I wrote this stuff. And that's just my CV. So it was public. The employer, my current employer, reached out to me. It flipped. And yeah, that's just what I did. And that was an advice that my colleague, my friend Andrew Zolnai actually gave me back when I was lost 10 years ago, I think. Yeah, almost in 2010. Yeah, 2010. He just give me just let the recruiter search for you. Don't search for them, right? And you do that by developing a talent. You do that by developing a set of skills that you're passionate about. If you're passionate about that, it will absolutely show, guys. And once that actually shows, they will basically do anything to get you, because you don't need to. Most of the work is done. The interview, you know what you're gonna say. Hey, that's what I do. That's what I do. I do proxies. I'm an expert in HA. Don't say expert. I know HA proxy. I know traffic. I know how to configure HA proxy to run as a active configuration. I know keep alive. I know these kind of things. Just focus on what you really enjoy. All right, guys, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry a little bit long and rambly. I didn't really plan it, but I just like to, I always like to answer this question in a conversational manner as much as possible. Some of you like this, some of you don't. I apologize. I'll try to do better in scripting. I don't really do in scripting. I just put outlines and just talk about the points that I would like to talk about. But that's it, guys. Gonna see you in the next one. You guys stay awesome.